From Blackfoot to Teton, we've got your District 6 breakdown right here on the East Idaho Prepcast with Lance Taylor.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down everything going on in Districts 5 and 6 in the state of Idaho. It's brought to you by Pure Adrenaline Motorsports, your source for pulse-pounding adrenaline sports apparel and accessories that ensure you have what you need to unleash your inner beast. Brandon Baney with Lance Taylor. Lance, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you, Brandon?
I'm doing good. You know, it's the first time I've talked to you since the holidays. Did you have a nice
Christmas? While. It has been a while.
Did you have a nice Christmas and New Year's?
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, well, the holidays were nice, and then like right after Christmas, I got COVID, so that kind of stunk.
Know that.
Yeah.
Well, you're still alive. That's good news.
Yes, I'm on the mend. So
I really enjoy the holidays. Nothing better than seeing it in my rearview mirror after it's over with, though, and moving on with the rest of basketball season.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's start with basketball because last night we had a lot of good matchups, particularly on the boys' side. I think we have to start with the game that we had on IdahoSports.com last night. It was a non-conference battle as Hillcrest from District 6 traveled down to Preston from District 5. These are two of the top 4A programs in the state, and the game certainly did not disappoint as the Knights prevailed in double overtime, 63-60.
Yeah, crazy game. I actually caught the tail end of that. I was at another game that Idaho Sports was doing, a girls' game between Teton and South. Of course, we'll get to that later, but I caught the tail end of that, the second overtime, and just looked like a crazy game.
I mean, the two teams were very evenly matched. This is the game that I was at last night along with Sean Kane, so I'll just kind of break it down super quick. Both teams were evenly matched in the first half. Both of the starting centers got into foul trouble. Rhett Larson for Preston, and more importantly, Isaac Davis for Hillcrest. Yeah. So he sat for a lot of that second quarter. The nice thing is that Hillcrest didn't need to bring him back in because the Knights kind of grabbed control of the game. And took a 5-point lead into halftime. And so they were able to keep Davis on the bench with 2 fouls and save him for the second half. So Hillcrest led by 5 at halftime. Into the second half, in the third quarter specifically, Preston outscored Hillcrest 21-11 to turn a 5-point deficit into a 5-point lead. And you thought, all right, here we go. Preston hardly ever loses at their home gym. They've grabbed control. But in the fourth quarter, Hillcrest rallied back. It ended up coming down to free throws. Ultimately, Hillcrest shot 60% from the line last night. Preston shot 50%. So that was probably the difference. Game goes to overtime. In the first overtime, Hillcrest has a 3-point lead with 9 seconds to play. And I'm shocked, Lance, and we talked about it on the broadcast last night, that Hillcrest didn't foul, right? The notion is that when you're up 3 with less than 10 seconds to go, you want to foul the opposing team because even if they make both free throws, you're still up by 1. Hillcrest didn't foul, and Drew Jones from Preston made a ridiculous shot where he was sandwiched between 2 defenders, kind of pump faked, and I think he was just trying to draw contact, and then nobody stepped up to defend him, so he kind of just shot it from his waist and ended up making the 3 at the end of the buzzer at overtime. And so we went to double overtime, and finally in double OT, Hillcrest got the ball into Cooper Kessler's hands. He made some free throws down the stretch, and they end up winning. But, man, what a fun game that was.
Yeah, well, and then Preston, unable to get a shot off on that very last possession, end up with a turnover, did have a chance to tie it, and actually a fairly reasonable chance to tie it. There's about 3.5 seconds on the clock when they inbounded it. But I mean, you're talking everything you expect from a top 5 matchup, the number 2 and number 4 ranked teams in the state, the coaches polls. Those are the kind of games that you expect. We had a little different one last night between the 1 and the 4 team in the state in a girls matchup, but I mean, double overtimes to get much better.
I mean, it was a really fun game to watch. The rematch will come in 7 days up in Ammon. That should be fantastic to watch as well. For Hillcrest, I guess you have to be encouraged if you're head coach Dave Austin, because you won with Isaac Davis not playing much in the second quarter, and you won with your leading scorer, Cooper Kessler. I think he only scored 5 or 6 last night, and he averages 19 per game. So he wasn't really on, and it was Kobe Kessler, his younger brother, that actually stepped up. And so that's the thing with Hillcrest is it's not one guy. There's like 5 guys or 6 guys even that can beat you on any given night.
Well, early on in games, a lot of teams are going to try to go inside against Hillcrest and try to get, Isaac Davis in foul trouble. That's going to be a common theme for them, because if you can get Isaac Davis in foul trouble, that opens up the middle. He has a lot of block shots underneath there. He's got a lot of dunks when he's on offense, cleans up some offensive rebound putbacks, things like that. And so, if you can get Isaac Davis in foul trouble, that obviously is a plan that the teams have going in there. Isaac's just such a very good player. But one of the things they rely when he's not in the game, like in this case, being in some foul trouble in that second quarter, is Kessler being able to hit those outside shots. If he's off, you got to go to little brother. Maybe some roundabout play from some of the guys coming off the bench as well.
Yeah, Zach Greenig came in last night and banged down low and gave Hillcrest some good looks. Talon Taylor played well off the bench also. The other big key in that game last night was that Hillcrest is so good in transition, right? In the blink of an eye, they had turned a 4-point deficit into a 4-point lead in that second quarter to kind of grab control. And because Hillcrest is so good in transition, Preston's top priority was making sure we don't get beat. And because of that, Preston hardly pressed at all, right? That's kind of what they're famous for and known for. Preston, this full court press that they like to do. But because Hillcrest is so good in transition, Preston really sat back and made it a half court game defensively.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what, Tyler Jones is such a good coach. He's one of those coaches. He's not good. He's great. He's one of those coaches that he coaches to the group that he has. He has different talent levels all the time and different skill sets, and he is just so good at coaching those sets, and he'll make it a game that needs to be, like you said, you get in a running game with Hillcrest. That's a pretty tough task, if you're in a running game with them. And sometimes, you get teams that can maybe only put up 45, 50 points in a game. Maybe that's all the firepower they have. And so they have to go out and say, hey, listen, guys, we got to keep this game under a certain amount, because if it gets up over this amount, we probably don't have a chance to win that ball game. But if we can keep it within this other boundary, we might have a chance to win this. And against a Hillcrest, they can get out and run on you so quick that game can get out of control. And pretty soon you got a 20-point deficit you're trying to deal with, and that changes your game plan completely.
Yeah, so that was a great matchup. I can't wait for the rematch. That's going to be fantastic as well. And then again, that was a non-conference game in the 4A ranks. Let's stay with the 4A boys basketball. We're recording this on Thursday, so we're talking about Wednesday night's action on the 13th or the 12th of January. The other big game last night from the 4A ranks was Blackfoot and Skyline doing battle. That was a conference game, and Blackfoot won 78-74, a high-scoring affair. And Blackfoot, to me, Lance, is kind of like in football. Sometimes they look awesome, and other times they kind of leave me scratching my head a little bit.
Yeah, especially because Skyline has struggled this year. They've had some real challenges this year. And, going in when I saw that game that it was taking place last night, I looked at that, and I've kind of felt like maybe Blackfoot is about 12 to 15 points better if they're both playing their best, on that. And Skyline made a game out of it, but Skyline, just like football, you never count them out. You just don't count them out. They find ways to win.
Yeah, it's just
last night wasn't a win, but my point is they competed.
Right. And so Hillcrest is 2-0 in the league. Blackfoot is 1-0. That was their conference opener. They don't play
1-1.
Blackfoot's 1-0. They beat Skyline.
Yeah.
1-0, and they don't play. Hillcrest and Blackfoot don't play each other until late. January 22nd will be the first game, and then they play at the very end of the regular season on February 11th. It's kind of looking like it'll come down to those teams. Skyline's already in a hole in the conference at 1-3 in the league. So, but as we saw last year, they went into districts as the 4 seed and still got to state. So
that's right. Had to match up with that same Blackfoot group opening round. So did their girls.
Yes, and now for Preston, they get ready. They don't play again until next Tuesday, but it's the important game. It's finally a conference game. Pocatello will come down to Preston. This is a Pocatello team, Lance, last week that lost to Century. And the fact that they lost to Century didn't surprise me, but how badly they lost. 54-32. Isaiah Harwell, the freshman for Century, put on a show. And I think Pocatello was a little shell-shocked after that.
Well, I can tell you right now, and I won't say who, I won't say which teams, but there are 2 teams in the 4A top 5 that are not as good as Century. I've had a chance to see Century, so I'm going to step out on the limb for that. I'm not going to step out far enough to break the limb by saying which teams I think they are. But I'm telling you right now, in the eye test, Century is better than 2, maybe even more, the teams that are in the top 5 in 4A right now.
How many teams of those teams is Pocatello better than? Same 2?
I don't know if Pocatello right now has the consistency to do it.
Okay.
You can't show up and play a game like you did against Century last week and pass the eye test. It's tough. We know they're good. But they've got to do a little bit more proving. I think the game against Preston will be a telltale, because we know how disciplined Preston is, and what I want to see is how Pocatello handles that discipline of Preston's. I think Pocatello has more raw talent, if you just want to call raw talent that, but you throw in a coach like Tyler Jones, that changes the entire structure, because Tyler will put a game plan together that even if teams have, I think last night, more raw talent on the floor with Hillcrest, but look, goes into double overtime. But I think that's directly, I'm not saying there's not good athletes and good players right now in Preston. I'm just saying that the coach right there is making a massive difference, because he knows how to game plan based upon the talent set that he has at that time.
Yeah, Pocatello really needs to bounce back in that road game at Preston on Tuesday night. I got done with the game last night in Preston, and I was talking to their athletic director, Brent Knapp, a little bit, and I said, here's what I know. I know that the 4A state tournament is going to be a lot of fun this year.
Oh,
and he told me, if we get there, yes, because Preston, Pocatello, Century, all 3 teams probably could stake a claim, just like last year, that all 3 could probably stake a claim to being one of the 8 best, but only one team's going to get to go.
Well, and you got to remember too, even being one of the 8 best doesn't mean anything until you make it to state. You still make it to state the same way you always made it to state. Where the rankings come in is once you've got there, then those rankings play a different. But you still have to make it the same way. So you could be the number 2 team in the state, and if you don't make it out of your conference, right, you're not going to state. You're not going to play it. So there's a lot of truth to that. I think right now I would give that advantage to Pocatello, or pardon me, to Preston, just because Preston knows how to get there. It doesn't mean that they can't or won't be knocked off. But 4A, in fact, I have 4A and 2A, 2A, and 1A Division 1 as the 3 boys state tournaments this year that could be the most intriguing.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to 2A then. Let's talk about what's been going on in 2A boys basketball, because you've got North Fremont 9-1, looking very strong, 1-0. They lost to Westside in their season opener by 4. And then they turned around and beat Westside in the rematch by, I can't do the math, but they won 51-27. So, I mean, they're fine.
Yeah, it was huge. I had heard, I didn't see the first game, but I heard from several people that they just could not hit shots. It was just one of those nights where it had every shot they wanted, just couldn't put it in the hole. One of those nights. But I've had a chance to watch them now 4 times this year. Twice against 3A Sugar Salem team, and I guess 3 times, twice against Sugar Salem, once against Aberdeen. And the thing with North Fremont, they will fundamental you to death. It's just fundamental, backdoor cuts, all the basics. They have mastered the basics. And the thing is, in today's game, the basics is the thing that's missing the most. And they have mastered the basics. They've gone back. They hit backdoor cuts, mid-range jump shots. Most teams now are 3 are key. And these guys have mid-range jump shots. The mid-range jump shot pretty much retired with Tim Duncan. And so most teams are key or 3 right now. But not Shannon Hill, man. His team, he looks at him, he's just like, hey, this guy, if his best range is 15 feet, we're going to have him shoot 15 feet, not from 20, just to, call it a 3. They are very, very good. And they could step up and win this.
Yeah, they've got a fun game on Friday night. It's a non-conference game as Wendell comes to Ashton to play North Fremont. Wendell is a team that got to state last year. Wendell is a team that looks pretty good. They're 8-1, and they already beat Valley once, which is their biggest competition in their district. So this would be a good non-conference matchup, and possibly two teams that'll be at state.
Yeah, and they're deservingly a top 5 team in Wendell. That's the last non-conference game for North Fremont before they get into conference play against Salmon. But I think Wendell certainly has the potential to give them a run. In fact, Aberdeen gave them a good run for a half because Aberdeen is actually a very fundamentally good team as well. They do the basics very well. When it came down to it, they just were not able to convert off their opportunities like North Fremont was earlier this week.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, tell me a little bit about Aberdeen. I'm going to get to see Aberdeen on. Oh. All right. So I'm going to get to see Aberdeen on Saturday when they play Raft River. That will be a game that we'll have on IdahoSports.com and boys basketball. I'm having a hard time figuring out what's going on in District 5 because you've got Soda Springs 6-5, Westside 6-5, Aberdeen 6-6, and even Bear Lake at 2-8. That is, they've had a lot of close losses, and they've got one of the best coaches in Brandon Carlson. So what do you make of District 5?
Well, I'll be honest with you right now. Aside from all those records, Bear Lake is the team that I think will step up and win this district. Like when all is said and done, Bear Lake's going to be the team to win it. Aberdeen's a very good team. Aberdeen has a lot of good athletes on their team. I mean, they got kid Windmill Duncan during warm-ups and stuff, then turns around and only has 2 points in the game, stuff like that. And so I think with Aberdeen, you've got a lot of good athletes. You are limited as far as what guys are going to put the ball in the hole. Beck is a very good player. Beck's going to put the ball in the hole for you. Other than that, it's going to be streaky because you got a lot of athletes that aren't necessarily, what you'd call great basketball players, but they're great athletes. And so I think Aberdeen is one of those teams that you've got to keep games under about 50 points if they can defensively, and they've got the athletes to do it defensively. They can keep games, in the 40s, keep it under that 50-point mark. They've got a great opportunity to win a lot of ball games. If it gets over that amount, then it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle for them.
District 5 gets 1.5 bids to state this year, so whoever finishes second would have to play the third place team from District 3 in a state play-in game, and that District 3 is tough. There are a lot of good teams over there, so you definitely want to win the district if you can. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch Aberdeen on Saturday night against Raft River, and again, East Idaho game night
they beat Raft River this year as well.
Yes, they have. Yes, and Raft River's a team that's struggling a little bit. East Idaho game night is pumping. We've got multiple games almost every night of the week in East Idaho. If you want to see what's going on the broadcast schedule, just click on the game streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. Lance is doing a bunch of games. I'm doing a bunch of games. Lauren Jensen, Tim Belknap. We got East Idaho pretty well covered with some great matchups on IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, very, very good matchups.
No doubt. Okay, 1A D1 was the other conference or landscape you said that's pretty wide open. Let's talk about it because
I don't think it's wide open. I think the door is shut. I think what makes it intriguing is to see if anybody can potentially challenge Lapwai. Prairie's ranked number 2 in the state. Did you see what Lapwai did to Prairie?
Yeah.
Did you see what Lapwai did to Coeur d'Alene? Did you see what Lapwai did to Lewiston? Did you see what Lapwai did to 2 big schools out of Washington? Lapwai is awesome. Lapwai might be, I'm not calling it for sure, they might be the best team in the state at any level. If we had a top teams tournament of the top 8 teams in the state, they very well could be the best team.
When they are on, you're right. They are almost impossible to stop. In our area, 1A D1 hoops, Butte County continuing to play really well. They've defeated Taylor's Crossing and Chalice. They're 2-0 in the conference. But of course, we really measure them with how they do against Grace. They will play Grace for the first time next Friday, January 21st. And in an interesting game they just picked up because they had a non-conference game with Mackey get canceled. There's sickness running through the Mackey schools. And so Butte County's head coach, Mindy Gammett, just picked up a non-conference game Saturday, January 29th. So that's in a couple of weeks. They are going to play Victory Charter, which looks like the best team at the 1A D1 ranks from District 3. That's going to be a neutral site game in Filer. I like this. This is, again, 2 teams that could be playing at state down the road.
Yeah, it very well could. And, and again, I look and say, depending on where the matchup does, or where it ends up, who can anybody potentially challenge Lapwai? I want to read these off to you. I'm not saying, I mean, and again, any team can be beatable, but I want to give you this a little bit. Number 2 ranked team in the state, Prairie. Lapwai beat them by 44. Lapwai schedules them at Coeur d'Alene. It's played at Coeur d'Alene. 5A. Coeur d'Alene was undefeated going into there, and I don't believe they've lost a game since either. Lapwai beats them by 8. North Central High School out of Washington, out of Spokane, a big school. Lapwai beats them by 21. Kellogg, they're not ranked anymore in 3A, but they were ranked in 3A. They beat them by 24. Clarkston, Washington, a pretty big school. They beat them by 14. Lewiston, 5A in the state of Idaho, beat them 81-63, 18 points. I'm telling you guys, you have got to watch Lapwai basketball. It is special basketball.
And it's not just their boys, their girls team is also very talented. It's I don't know what's going on up there at Lapwai for sure, but okay. So 1A D1 is intriguing for a different reason. That's good to note. Let's quickly look at the other classifications. 1A D2, Rockland finally lost to somebody in the conference. They lost to North Gem last week, 49-46. So the Cowboys and Bulldogs are each tied with identical 7-1 league marks. Water Springs just behind at 6-2. And again, I think there's a pretty clear top 3. It'll be fun to watch all of those teams duke it out because there's only 2 bids to state from that conference.
Yeah, there is. And I want to bring something up. If you remember me, when we first started talking about basketball, I predicted North Gem would actually win that conference. I predicted North Gem would have a similar basketball season to their football season, where they're going to step up and they're going to be very good this year. And they're proving it. That's a team full of athletes. North Gem is very good coming out of Bancroft there.
Yes. And by the way, the rematch, North Gem at Rockland, Friday night, January 28th, 7:30 p.m. on IdahoSports.com. So we will have the rematch. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't have a game that night. I just might go to that game. I just might drive out to. That's in Rockland, correct?
Yes, in Rockland.
Yeah. See, I just might drive out to that game.
Yeah, it's going to be.
We'll see.
It's going to be. It's going to be good. 3A. There's still not much to talk about in boys hoops because nobody's played each other in the league. That is going to change very rapidly. As next week we'll see some conference games, but I don't know. Teton, Sugar, South, they're all around 500. So I'm not sure what to make there.
Well, and I watched Sugar and Marsh Valley play last week. It was actually a very good game, very close game. And again, one that Marsh Valley can just put up a ton of points. So Sugar had to try to keep the game under a certain, scoring number. Otherwise they just weren't going to have a chance to compete for that. But Marsh Valley is very good. Marsh Valley, if there's one glaring challenge that they just don't have height. Everybody's a good shooter, though. Anybody off there on that team, on the floor or on the bench, can come off and can nail 3-pointers. They're just very, very good shooting team. But I think 3A of, as far as state tournament goes, I think 3A is more unknown. We have a lot more questions than answers about 3A.
Yes, for sure. Snake River and Marsh Valley continuing to do really well in District 5. The Panthers are 11-2. The Eagles are 9-2. The way it works this year is the district champions from Districts 5 and 6 automatically go. The second place teams will play each other in a play-in game. The winner of that will then have to play a second play-in game to get to state. So there's quarter bids available. To me, it doesn't really matter who finishes second from District 6. Snake River and or Marsh Valley, I think, would beat second place from District 6 pretty easily. So
yeah, probably. I think that's what happened last year as well. Snake River and Sugar Salem ended up second in their conferences, and Snake River gets that bid, wins that play-in game. They win the game to get another game to play in, but. I think District 6 has the advantage there right now. I've had a chance to watch Marsh Valley, had a chance to watch Snake River. I have not had a chance to watch American Falls. They're not really in the conversation, to be honest with you. But I think Marsh Valley and Snake, they're going to battle it out. And I think Marsh Valley is the better of those two teams.
Yep. Finally, the 5A, Madison and Rigby played last night as well. This was the top two teams in the conference, and this was a pretty good battle. Madison ended up winning 56-52, but I've been very impressed with the Rigby team that lost a lot to graduation last year.
Yeah. Rigby did lose a lot, but again, you're talking the brother of Tyler Jones, who's Justin Jones there. Justin has won 3 state championships with Rigby. Another just great coach that he will game plan based upon the talent that he has. He's not one of those coaches that says, okay, this is the way I coach, and whatever team I have, we're going to play this. And if they happen to meet my style, great. If they don't, then we just have a bad year. He doesn't do that. He game plans for who he has, the talent level, the skill sets, and he can go out and do very well, because Madison, I'm telling you right now, is a very good team. Madison is very good. In fact, right now, I believe if I had to pick, if I was laying money in Vegas, I would say Madison wins that conference, the regular season, and probably the district tournament. And the team that could step up and put a hitch in that would be Rigby. Yeah,
I would tentatively say Madison as well, but boy, Rigby played them so tough that.
Rigby is a good team. Good team.
Yeah. The rematch comes on Wednesday, January 26th at Madison. So we'll see how that rematch goes. Let's
say the most glaring thing of the top 5 for 5A is that Rocky Mountain's not in there. Rocky Mountain really struggling this year. Rocky Mountain is a perennial top 5 team, and just
there's a changing of the guard a little bit, right? Owyhee is
Owyhee split that student body pretty heavily, so there's no question. Rocky Mountain was the biggest school in the state, student body wise. And splitting with Owyhee, I don't know who is now, but splitting with Owyhee certainly took some talent away from Rocky Mountain.
Definitely. Let's move to girls basketball. Lance, where were you at last night?
I was doing PA for the Sugar Teton game. That was a top 5 matchup between Sugar and Teton. That was the number 1, number 4 team in the state, and that was a 30-plus point win. I think they ended up winning by 30. When all was said and done. It was mercy rule in the fourth quarter. However, having said that, Teton is better than what they played last night. And they had one of those first halves when they just couldn't hit anything. They played fairly even in the second half. Sugar won the second half too, but Teton played fairly even. They've got a lot of good athletes. The bottom line is you cannot get down to a Sugar team. If you get down to Sugar's girls, you're really going to struggle to play in a ball game. I mean, you got to understand, last weekend, Green Canyon came up. Ridgeview came up from Cache Valley. They're the number 1 ranked 4A team in the state of Utah, which would be 5A here. And they're the number 1 ranked 4A team. They were 12-0 coming in. And Sugar didn't just beat them. Sugar spanked them. And so it was now the final score doesn't show, how much divide there was. Because, when benches were in towards the end and stuff, Ridgeview ended up hitting some shots. But it was, they're a very good team. You can't get down to them. That's what happened last night. Teton got down.
Yeah, in terms of teams in the East for 3A, I think it's pretty clear there's not anybody that can really compare to Sugar. The second best team, I would say, is probably Snake River, and Sugar just beat them 60-35 to start the new year.
Yeah, you do have to remember, though, they did play an overtime game with each other down there at Snake River earlier in the season. So that was a good one. I had a chance to watch Sugar and Preston this year. Preston took that in an overtime game, and then Sugar's other loss was a 10-point loss to what I think is the best girls team in the state at any level, and that's Blackfoot.
Yes. And so, yes, real quickly with Sugar, I think in terms of the East, they're set. Statewide, though, I think still like maybe Timberlake up north could maybe they've got some players with some size that could give.
Sugar. They lost a lot from last year. A lot of state championship team of theirs. But I think, however, I think District 6 gets 2 teams in the state this year.
Yeah, I agree with
that. For the girls.
I agree with that. Let's talk about Blackfoot because they have a very interesting game coming up in girls basketball. They're 16-0, 5-0 in the conference. They're just running away with the thing. They're clearly the best team in 4A basketball. I think people would say either Blackfoot or Burley, depending on the matchups, and Preston third, I would say. But after those three, there's kind of a drop off, I think.
Yeah, there is. I think those three are going to be the teams to watch as we move on. I just think that's what it's going to be. That's not to knock the other schools. I just think those three have really set themselves, apart from anybody else. So I think it's important to look at that. You got a Burley team that their only loss came by 1 point to Bora, and Burley's going to be very, very good. But Blackfoot, I think it's upon everybody else to to see if they can step up and beat Blackfoot.
Well, here is, if they're going to lose a game in the regular season, I think it's going to happen in their next one. And if they get past this next game, then I think they go undefeated heading into districts. And that is tonight. We're recording this on Thursday, the 13th. Tonight, Blackfoot at Thunder Ridge. Thunder Ridge is a very good 5A team, and these teams played back in November, and Blackfoot only won by 63-57.
Well, Thunder Ridge, that's one of their losses on the season. They've only got 2 losses. Very, very tough team. And in fact, I think there's no question that they're the top team in, coming out of the Southeast Idaho for 5A. But Blackfoot is going to have a test there. They're going to have a test.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that game goes. And again, like I said, if Blackfoot doesn't lose there, I'm not sure they lose again until maybe the postseason, if at all. Coach Odom continuing to do a great job with Blackfoot. We talked about Thunder 14-2. What do you make of Rigby? Rigby's girls have been competitive as well. They're 12-4 overall. They played Thunder Ridge already twice this year and split.
Yeah, yep, they did. And I mean, and that's the team that could be the spoiler to Thunder Ridge's party. That's the team that could step up and do it. They're obviously missing Jones from last year. But that's Rigby's a good team. I do think, overall that the Thunder Ridge is the better team. I think Thunder Ridge is the best 5A here in Southeast Idaho. But again, if anybody spoils the party, it's going to be Rigby that spoils it.
2A, Ryrie kind of running away with the Nuclear Conference, 12-4 overall, 4-0 in the league. The Southeast Idaho Conference, again, I think everybody is like sleeping on Soda Springs because they look and say, they're 6-9, but they played a gauntlet of a schedule.
Yeah, well, and I think that they always play big teams anytime, any place. And just like I have Bear Lake's boys picked to win the conference despite the record, I'm doing the same thing for the girls to win the SEIC for Soda Springs.
Yeah, so Soda Springs is 4-0 in the league. A big game on Friday night, and it's a game that we are going to have on IdahoSports.com as Soda Springs travels to Aberdeen. These are kind of the top 2 teams, I think, in a lot of people's minds, and maybe West Side could be in the conversation as well. The first time these teams played down in Soda, the Cardinals won by 5, 36-31. What do you think happens in the rematch?
I think Soda Springs does it again, and I think it's going to be another close game.
Okay.
I've had a chance to watch Soda this year as well. Very good team.
Yeah, and again, that's a game that I'll be on the call on Friday night, Soda Springs at Aberdeen. I'm very excited for that one. I think it's going to be –
Swanabelt does a great job there as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic battle. The 1As, at the D1 level, we are setting up for this collision between Butte County and Grace. The Pirates are undefeated, 14-0. Grace is 9-5, but similar to Soda, they kind of challenge themselves with the schedule. It is a shame that only one of these teams is going to get to go to state.
Yeah, and that's a 2-5 matchup. So we've got, again, top 5 teams in the state playing against each other. And I really don't know who to pick there, to be honest with you. I just don't know.
Yeah, because they finally played for the first time last night, and Butte County won that game 54-39. But I think the rematch, which comes on January 21st, I think will be a little bit closer. I think
Grace will too. This is kind of the way I feel about that, because I just don't know who to pick in it. I will have to say this though: if there is a blowout, it's not going to be Grace blowing Butte County out.
Yeah.
If Grace wins it, I think it's a close game. If anyone has a chance to blow the other out, it is Butte County because they got a little more speed on their team.
And when when you talk about the wide openness, I think 1A D1 girls has a chance to be kind of wide open. You've got Lapway and Prairie up north. Notice is playing very well. I think Murtaugh's, people are sleeping on Murtaugh a little bit. They're a very good team as well. So that'll be a lot of fun to chart. And the 1A D2s, it's kind of Rockland's world. We're all living in it. They're 14-1. They're 10-0 in the league. Yeah. I still think Mackey is a really good team. They're not getting a lot of respect. And North Gem with Danica Barfus and company are also very solid.
The team that I'm curious about is this Council team. This Council team that's 8-0, is that a legitimate 8-0, or is it a paper champion 8-0? We just don't know. And so that's a team I'm really curious to watch as this season continues to move on.
Yeah, the problem is they haven't had a ton of games. They only played 3 games in November, 3 games in December, and they've had a lot of games get wiped out due to weather, people getting sick. They actually just won by forfeit on Tuesday. Salmon River only had like 3 players available because of injuries, and they're not going to be able to make that game. So that's a 2-0 forfeit win for Council. So
that's right.
Yeah, but I think things are things are interesting. The 1A D2 ranks. Rockland, of course, still looking like the team to beat. And Mackey, again, school-wide illness has canceled all of their games for this week, and we're at the point of the year now where you're kind of running out of wiggle room a little bit in terms of trying to make up those games. This is what happened to the Mackey volleyball team this fall, where they had to forfeit some matches because of sickness. And I hope the same thing doesn't happen here in basketball.
Yeah, I sure hope it doesn't as well. I don't think there's a need for it to happen. I mean, obviously, if a kid isn't playing or isn't feeling well and they're sick, and you keep them out, that's one thing. But I'm one that unless it like the Salmon River, where it just drastically reduces the numbers, where you can't put a team on the floor, I say if you can put at least 5 players on the floor, you get out there and you play a ball game.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm old school that way, though.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
I come from the rub some dirt on it generation.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's wrap up with wrestling and just take a quick look at the latest wrestling coaches poll just came out today. 5A Thunder Ridge is ranked 5th. I think that's probably appropriate. Really, the power is in Meridian and the teams up north.
Yeah.
4A, you've got Blackfoot ranked 4th. What do you think? Could Blackfoot possibly challenge at state? Nampa and Minico kind of look like the 2 favorites, but Blackfoot always seems to do well at state wrestling.
Yeah, they do. To me, because I don't watch as much wrestling during the regular season, I don't have the eye test opinion, so I really look to see cross records and things like that. But who knows? I think South Fremont takes it for 3A. I think they step up. They're good, man. They're good, and I have had a chance to see them.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the 3A because 4 of the 5 teams and the top 4 are all from East Idaho. South Fremont 1, Snake River 2, Marsh Valley 3, American Falls 4.
Yeah, yep, and then Buell out of District 4. Yeah. And so really, you've got some very, very good teams there, and you get a lot of people. You get a lot of wrestlers that see each other a lot during the season too. So they know how to strategize against each other. There's not a lot of secrets going into matches at state when you've had a chance to wrestle those guys throughout the year.
Definitely. And then the 2A, 1A classification, New Plymouth kind of looks like the overwhelming favorite in terms of state, but Malad is currently ranked 2nd. Ryrie is tied for 4th. I've learned you never count out Ryrie at state.
Nope. You just don't. Malad's won it a number of years too. And, Malad right now is really struggling in their winter sports as far as boys and girls basketball goes. So it's good to see their wrestling team up there near the top, and they could definitely step up and raise some havoc as well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a lot of fun to chart all of these teams as they continue to navigate through the season. And again, we've got a lot of basketball for you in East Idaho on IdahoSports.com. Just check out the game streams tab on the homepage to see what we've got going on for both boys and girls hoops. All right, Lance, it was good to get back in the saddle here.
Yeah, it was. It was a fun one.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, thanks, everybody, for tuning into the East Idaho Prepcast. Enjoy the competition this weekend and early next week, and we'll See you back here next week to break it all down again here on the East Idaho Prepcast, brought to you by Pure Adrenaline Motorsports, your source for pulse-pounding adrenaline sports apparel and accessories that ensure you have what you need to unleash your inner beast. For Lance Taylor, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.